Hello and welcome to Module 2 of EDU 200. So I really enjoyed getting to know each of you in last week's discussion board. And hopefully what you find is that I really try and run even my online classes the same way that I would not only a face-to-face class, but the way that I think that a regular classroom should run. And by that, I mean we have to build a community. So it is a little bit more difficult in an online setting to feel like you are a part of a community. But getting involved in the discussion board postings, taking your time with them, taking your time as you read your classmates and respond to them, as well as your interaction with me, hopefully will make you feel like you are truly a part of this class. And each and every one of you is an individual who is unique and bring something different to our class. And so that's really why those discussion board postings are so important. You start to find that you have things in common with some of your classmates, or maybe someone's already working at a place that you were thinking about working at, or you're able to share some insights. So really take your time as we get into the remaining discussion board postings to continue to help build our community. So thank you to everyone who got in your verification of your credit hours, who have already sent me your placement request forms. Just kind of an update. You do know that summer is a little bit more difficult simply because of the fact that not every school district does summer school. And even some of the districts that do summer school may not actually place students. So at this point in time, the only two districts that I know for certain are accepting placement requests are Chesapeake and Suffolk. If you're thinking about doing Suffolk, the elementary summer school is being done at Elephant's Fork, just so you know, if you were thinking of looking in that area. Norfolk normally allows for summertime placements as well. So if you're thinking about Norfolk, just make sure that you fill out that placement request so I can get it into HR. Unfortunately, Virginia Beach does not. And so there's really nothing that I can do about that. I have not heard back from Portsmouth if you are interested in that. What I will say is that if you really want to get in and start your hours sooner than the public schools do their summer school, start looking at some of the private schools and even some of the early childhood centers that have a kindergarten. Because as long as it is at least a kindergarten class up through 12th grade, then it doesn't matter. And so you don't have to go through a lot of red tape to get into some of those. I cannot give you specific names of places that you can go because ethically that would be wrong, because it would appear as though I was endorsing some and not others, and I really want to stay away from that. But since the public summer schools don't start until the end of June and go through the end of July, if you really wanted to get in before then think outside the box. Like I said, look around at some of the private schools and the centers in your area that possibly have a kindergarten through a 12th grade class. So if you are interested in the public schools that I mentioned, just make sure that you get me your placement request form as soon as you can, because if I can go ahead and get them to HR now, then you'll be at the front of the line and you won't have to worry that they'll say, well, we can't place you, and then you're scrambling as you get to the end of the course. So pretty much Module 1 was all about just laying the foundation. So the readings were all about introduction to teaching as a profession, and just kind of getting ready to start branching out. So I'm really looking forward to reading your first drafts of your teaching philosophy. Please know that other than like spelling and grammar, I'm not looking to correct what your specific and personal thoughts are on each of the topics. All I'm going to say is that remember what you put in your first draft, because that's what you're going to be building on when you get to your second draft and your third draft. So I'll be working on getting those graded and back to you this week. But this week we're going to start Module 2, which is actually going to cover 2 weeks. So I'm going to do a video for each one of the modules, not each one of the weeks, simply because when you have several weeks within a module, it's just extra time to work on the assignments. So when you look in our course, you'll see I was able to put the announcements up at the top, so anytime there's a new announcement, you don't have to worry about clicking here in the announcements. It will automatically show up on our home page. But when you go to the modules, you're going to see, again, here's all of the forms that you need for the observation. If you are starting before the summer school for the public schools, just make sure you print out that observation log so that you can keep track of your hours and get them signed. As I said in the first module, you cannot pass the course without proving that you've done 40 hours in the classroom. Once you know where you're going, again, please don't forget to fill out the observation plan worksheet. Again, this is not a graded assignment, so if you weren't able to get it done the first week, just make sure you get it done when you know where you are going to be doing your observations. But when you look at Module 2, you're going to see again that we're looking at the history of education, and that includes theories, it includes public policy. There's a lot of information within this module, which is why it's not a 1-week module, it is 2. So you're going to see that you're going to be doing chapters 9 through 11 in your textbook. And as I said, always be thinking about your philosophy, because what you read and what you view is going to be what you may want to add to your philosophy, especially when you get to your second draft. These are, I know it looks like a lot, they are not long videos, but again, you have 2 weeks. But the reason that I give you all of these is because sometimes we need something more than just what's in the textbook. And especially for people who are auditory learners, it's a little bit better to actually have the videos instead of just being left to read on your own. And so you're going to see some of the main names in education, like John Dewey, Horace Mann. Like I said, we are going to be getting into the different theories, and if you've been in education for any length of time, even if you're just in the program, you are going to recognize a lot of the names that are covered here in the psychological theories. Supreme Court rulings about education, and this is something really interesting to see how schools are actually funded. So these are all of the resources. Again, you have 2 weeks, so spread it out. Watch a few here and there, but definitely bookmark the ones that you feel like you're going to be able to use, not just for this class, but for other classes. What you find about education is that it relates to a lot of other topics, especially psychology. So you may find that some of the resources that are in this course are things that you could use in another course. But when you get down to the Module 2 assignments, you're going to see that for this module, there's only 2 things that you're going to be working on. So the first one is your second discussion board posting, which is going to be looking at psychological theories. So when you click on the discussion board, you're going to see that, you know, again, we're talking about foundation, history, evolution of education. But for the purposes of this discussion board, we're really focusing on probably the 2 biggest camps of thought in education, which is behaviorism and constructivism. So behaviorism is definitely kind of a Skinner. You're going to see B.F. Skinner's name a lot with behaviorism. But basically those who are in this camp really truly believe that people, children, students, they learn based on the feedback that they get from others. So whether or not we tell them good job, whether they get a sticker, it's all about the feedback. Whereas constructivism is very much more of an individual kind of thing. So Piaget is the big name in constructivism, and basically they believe that children and even adults, they learn, they're constructing their own knowledge, which means they kind of are in charge, and teachers are a little bit more of a facilitator as opposed to a direct instructor. So really what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking an area of interest. So this is where you get to just have complete creative license. Choose an age group you think that you're going to want to work with. Choose a topic that you think you're actually going to have to teach with that age group. If you're going to have to do an assignment, then make it practical. And so that way it's something that you can use. So for example, if we did parts of speech, explorers, water cycle, but basically what I want you to do is you're going to kind of give us a little bit of background about what is the topic, what grade level, the standard or standards that go into it. And then you're going to just kind of do 2 brief paragraphs about one about how could you teach this perspective or teach this topic from the behaviorist perspective, and then how would you teach it from the constructivist perspective. And then kind of do a nice little conclusion about which one do you think is going to be more appropriate for that topic, that grade level, and what you want the students to learn. So it really is kind of taking the theory and getting beyond just the words and putting it into action. So you will see that this is set up as a blind discussion board topic, and all that means is that you can't see someone else's until you've posted your own. And the reason for that is because we want everyone to come up with their own ideas, but the great thing is that there's 20 students in the class, which means you're going to get 19 other ideas when you read through everybody else's discussion board postings. You do have to respond to at least 2 of your classmates. You can always do more, but in order to get full credit, you do have to do at least 2. So that's your discussion board posting. And the other thing that I put into this module is going to be the journals that you're going to be completing. Now, most important thing to know is that the due date for the journals is the end of this course. But because some people are going to be able to start working on their hours sooner rather than later, I wanted you to have access to them and understand what it is that you're going to be doing. So over the course of your 40 hours, you're going to be completing 8 different journal entries. And so when you click on the observation journals, you're going to see that I've given you the instruction in here. Basically, for each one of the journal entries, you're going to have 3 parts to it. So the first is going to be a little bit of research about that particular topic. What is our textbook, the course resources, outside research? What does it say about the importance of this topic? The second part is what have you observed in your classroom during your 40 hours in this class that relates to that topic? So how does the teacher use assessment? How does the teacher use technology? What does the physical classroom environment look like? And then the last piece is always the one I think is most important, which is how are you going to use this information? Now that you know what the research says, now that you've seen it either in action, or maybe have not seen it in action, or you've seen it in action but it was not done well, so you saw the outcome of it. How are you going to take it to be able to use it in your own classroom? So I have already given you the 8 topics, and they should look fairly familiar to you because they are the topics that I'm asking you to address in your philosophy. And the whole reason for asking you to do the philosophy in Module 1 is so you have already thought through what you believe about each one of these topics. Now I'm going to actually ask you to get into the research and actually put some of your observations into what you have learned, so that when you have to do a revision on your teaching philosophy, you've already done the work. So each one of these topics is set up as a quiz in this course. So there is not a journal capability in Canvas, so I had to get a little bit creative about how to set this up. So it does not matter what order you do them in, but you can only do each one once. So when you click on whichever one you're going to do, it's going to take you to the quizzes. And when you open it up, it's actually going to have this, which is the instructions. And then right here in the middle, it's going to say, take this quiz. And it's going to open up a text box for you so you can type directly into it. You can type in Microsoft Word and copy and paste it. But here's what I will tell you about doing your journal entries. The more work and time that you put into making each one of these journal entries scholarly and putting a lot of detail into them, the easier it's going to be as you revise your teaching philosophy. So you'll see there's no time limit. You are going to be able to see my response. It's going to go into the grade book. But again, I set these up so that the due date is the end of the semester. So really there's a rolling due date. You will see in each one of the modules, it'll say, do journals 1 and 2, do journals 3 and 4. Those are suggestions to keep you on track. But if you can't get into the classroom until the end of June, you're not going to be able to start doing your journal entries until you get into the classroom. So not only will these journal entries show up in each one of the remaining modules, but you can always access them from the quizzes link right here as well. And so basically that takes care of Module 2. Like I said, a lot of resources. Bookmark the ones that you like and you think you're going to use. Make sure that you do the discussion board. And when you're able to start working on your hours, then I would definitely start working on your journals. I think maybe it's a great idea to go ahead and have a list of the journal topics with you so that you know what you need to be looking for as you go into each of the times that you're in the classroom. So like I said, Module 2 is going to take 2 weeks. And so as long as the discussion board posting is done by the end of the module, then you're going to be fine. But I look forward to reading your thoughts about the psychological theories, and as you get into the classroom, reading your insights in your journals. Don't forget, if you need me to fill out a form for a placement, please get that to me sooner rather than later, so that we can be ahead of the game. But this is really where we're going to start getting into the practical side of education and teaching, and so hopefully you're going to enjoy it. So have a great time in Module 2, and I will see you in Module 3.